Hey everybody, welcome back to Choose Inclusion. This is UB Simignetti, and as always, I'm here with Nina and Mike. Hello, team.
Hey guys.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're under a foot of snow randomly in this spring weather. I don't know if you guys got the same in Boulder and North Denver, but it's a
Oh
little
yeah.
cold.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love the snow, so I'll take it.
It's springtime in the Rockies.
Yeah, well, I'm done with it. So just going to put that out there right now. Um, well, we are excited to talk to our guest today, who happens to be the Russian Imperial Stout Czar of Cincinnati. Who knew? And we'll talk about that. But he's also the CEO of Hamilton Demo. And Ivan Demos. Uh-oh, I think I just screwed it up. Ivan Demosthenes. There it is.
Perfect.
Yes, there it is.
Perfect.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you guys again. I've been looking forward to this for some time.
Yeah, because we really first met, gosh, I think in January, somebody said, and it's just already been a crazy fast year. So, but yeah, welcome. So, yeah, what's going on in your life? Tell us, catch us up on where you're at with COVID and just, I don't know, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, I tell people that COVID has brought me closer to my family and friends, strangely enough, because we're all living on top of each other and just wife, kids, family. We're all thriving and doing well. I actually got my second shot, Pfizer shot, on Saturday.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
Nice.
fantastic. Congrats.
You too.
So we're all doing well. My kids are at school. They've been in school the entire school year with very few interruptions. So really proud and happy for that. I've been able to see the impact that has on them. So that I'm very happy with that. And work is going well. We're busy. We'll see what the rest of the year holds for us. But if everything keeps holding like it currently looks like, we'll do really good this year. We'll exceed expectations actually.
That's I so want to talk about your current business. I think it's super important for our listeners, Ivan, to kind of like, how did you get to, okay, cool, you're here, right? Like, how did you get here? Because I know you were you're from Haiti. You've got a East Coast. You got a spin on the East Coast. You ended up in the Queen City. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and all those impacts along the way that got you to this point?
Yeah, my pleasure, definitely, Mike. Thank you for remembering our conversations before. So, my parents came to the United States when I was about 6 months old, and this was in 1970. And we came to the United States by way of New York. So for the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in New York, and I'm a New York Giants fan, New York Yankees fan. I root for the Rangers, and I love watching a Knicks game from time to time. So big New York sports fan as well. And growing up, had a great upbringing, and was surrounded really by friends that really resembled the UN nations. I had friends from Greece, Jamaica, Japan, just to name a few places. But really, my neighborhood was a rainbow of people from all over the world. And then when I went to school, it was very similar, different backgrounds. It was a great experience. And as I shared with you, my father, who's a physician, still practicing, by the way, but he decided that he had enough of New York and moved his family to Lima, Ohio. I love sharing that story because the image and visual that you may have of a Haitian family moving to Lima, Ohio in 1980 is exactly what it was. We were in a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful city with beautiful people, but we stuck out like sore thumbs. And needless to say, there weren't a lot of Haitians living close to us at that time. So, going to school, being in the class where I was one and only, really started making me aware of my surroundings and differences in people. And we didn't call it diversity at the time, but I started appreciating diversity more during that time when we moved to Lima, Ohio. So from there, shortly thereafter, I shouldn't say shortly thereafter, but when I went to college in '87, I started at the University of Cincinnati. Go Bearcats! And we my parents dropped me off and started my life here in Cincinnati. I've been here off and on since 1987. And during that time, after graduating, I started off in sales, which was a huge eye-opening experience in itself. Learning how to be a professional salesperson, understanding behavior, client behavior, prospect behavior. And I had a chance to work at General Electric. And at the time, GE had made some acquisitions that made them one of the largest or the largest acquisition of its time. They acquired several IT companies and resellers for about $25 billion at the time, which was the largest ever in the history of the world. And things were going well. I had turned some eyeballs and made some people interested in my professional growth. And so I embraced sales as a career for myself. And as chance would have it, I ended up in recruiting. I got a job with Career Builder, and that's when things really kind of connected for me personally and career wise. Because with Career Builder, and this was shortly after, a few years after Y2K, and if you remember, everybody was worried about what was going to happen with the internet and how things were going to shut down and all this technology. And coming off that, people really just embraced the internet and technology even more, right? Since the end of the world didn't come, people were on board even more. So this gave me an opportunity to go into these wonderful Fortune 500 companies and talk to HR and talent acquisition leaders. And as I built these relationships, they started relying on me and trusting me as an advisor. And one of the things that they would talk to me about were diversity issues within their organization, equity issues within their organization, inclusion needs all over their organization, not just locally, but nationally and internationally as well. So that kind of opened a whole new door for me, because as I shared with you one day, my boss approached me and mentioned that I was the only one who ever went on these meetings talking about diversity. And it was kind of a funny moment for me, because I looked at him and I had to remind him that I was really the only person of color, not only in the office, but the whole building. And I felt that it was part of who I am and a responsibility to share and offer options that would include diversity strategies to the companies that I was talking to. And it worked out well for me.
So can I ask you a question, Ivan, about that?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think we hear that, right? Like I think um, the token person often gets asked or voluntold to step up into a role like that. Um, so was it like that for you, or you're saying more it was you felt a responsibility, like you wanted to be that person
Yeah.
because you were
Very well.
the one.
I don't want to paint a picture that it wasn't, because maybe it was. I don't know. It didn't feel like it.
Right.
Uh, but I can tell you, as you guys have experienced already, I'm usually a pretty enthusiastic person, and I just saw the opportunity presented to me, all the great things we could do. And I had a manager who was someone I trusted, and really was a pretty good manager. So I don't want to make it seem that maybe it wasn't, because it could have been. I was just looking at bigger and greater things, right? And I'm glad I did, because from there on, it pretty much has me where I am today. I've worked with many, many very recognizable companies, um, international companies, big companies, the biggest of the biggest, and I've had some great stories to share. I've been able to positively impact these organizations in ways that, if you would have asked me when I was that 10-year-old kid moving to Lima, if you would have told me that was going to happen, I would have probably shaken my head and probably wouldn't have believed you, right? So it's been a great ride, and as I shared with you, the last few years, after working with Career Builder, a stint at Monster, and a company called Professional Diversity Network, uh, I've started my own company with my business partner, Sean Hamilton, who I'd like to mention is an Air Force veteran who I love to thank for his service all the time. And Hamilton Demo is a certified veteran owned business, and we are certified through the Department of Veteran Affairs. And so we're really proud of that, because when we started, we really wanted to, it was really important to both of us to have a designation where, we could represent ourselves in that light. And, at the time, before pandemic, I thought, you know what, probably certifying ourselves with the VA is a little bit more than we need. We could probably certify ourselves with a local entity or a regional entity, or even a smaller county entity or chamber of commerce. But looking back, it really worked out well for us. So we're really proud to be a certified veteran-owned company, certified through the VA. And also, as I shared with you too, the past 4 years have been quite the ride. We've had some phenomenal conversations with organizations across the country. We've done some good things. We've built a phenomenal partner network where we've uncovered different opportunities and different ways to do things that we provide to our clients, which is really helping us to help attract talent and diverse talent as well. So one of our specialties is in the diversity recruiting space and placement area. So we like to think that we can help and advise and consult on all things human capital. But our wheelhouse is definitely in executive search, placement, and project work around human capital and recruiting. So it's been great, and even last year, although things did come to a screaming halt in March for all of us, including here in Cincinnati, by the end of the year, we were able to meet and exceed our sales goals for 2020, and we're using that momentum for 2021. Things are looking good, and as I mentioned before, hoping that we can sustain that to have another good year.
Ivan, I think it's so interesting that you've been working in this diversity, equity, inclusion space for as long as you have, because I think there's a lot of folks who've gotten into this practice just over the last couple of years, but you've been doing it for 10 plus 15 years or so. How have you seen, and working in really large companies on this stuff, how have you seen the conversations or the work being done by companies around diversity change over the years?
Yeah, so Nina, thank you for mentioning that, because I never, it was never a plan to get into diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It kind of happened because at my heart, I feel as I'm a salesperson and I'm helping in recruiting, but I've built a lot of trust where these leaders would call me up and say, hey, they're having problems, or there's discussions here. How can I help them? What's some feedback I can give them? So the beacon, as it were, was really calling me in that sense. So I'm really glad that that was able to happen for me. It's really made my life and career better in that sense. And I will say one of the things that probably hasn't changed or has changed are the conversations. So I like to tell people and people around me that these organizations and have some wonderful leaders and talent acquisition leaders within them, and really I believe that they wake up every day trying to figure out how to do what they're doing better, and not only that, how to bring and attain deep diversity into their organization. We've talked all the time for years about having a diverse workplace, how it improves the workplace in so many different areas, including and more importantly, the bottom line. If you compare an organization that is more diverse versus one that is not, more often than not, they will benefit from all those things that we mentioned, including the bottom line of being a more profitable organization. So these talent acquisition specialists and leaders wake up, or I should say, really desire that deep diversity of skills, experiences, etc. And what I found from 17 years ago, 18 years ago when I started versus now is that the discussions are happening more frequently. And they're coming from higher levels than they were before. So that is definitely something that really gets me excited and makes me happy, and always happy to have those conversations and discuss what the possibilities are for those organizations that I'm having those conversations with. Now, what hasn't changed, unfortunately, is the perception that it's just a flip of the switch. Like we can change even with everyone's best intent, that this is a short journey, and it's not a journey. As a matter of fact, it is more likely to be a journey that you will never get off the path for. Right? It's a commitment, and that journey will take you through dips, winds, and bends in the path, etc., hills and mountains to climb. But for those organizations that are committed to that journey, they really again benefit and receive all the rewards that they're looking for. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and I'm Ivan, I'm fascinated by what you're talking about. The when you're once the train has left the station, so to speak, right? Like everything that's gone on. Can you provide some of your like give us some highlights though of you and your business partner and some of the successes? Can you talk about that, and bottom line, what this is doing not only for organizations, but again, improving. If you guys are specializing in executive type searches for organizations, then obviously your wheelhouse is diversity, equity, inclusion. Talk about some of the folks that are possibly getting a shot at executive type roles that maybe wouldn't have gotten that same shot some years ago.
Yeah. So, Mike, thanks. Because, we're happy to say that we've been able to help in the healthcare field, helping with administrators and even clinicians. We've also been able to impact in a huge way with managers, director level types, salespeople, especially experienced hunters that companies often seek to create and increase revenue. So I tell people in a very simple way, without giving away the secret sauce, that, hey, a hunter knows a hunter, right? There's nothing like the eyeball test. So we know what we're looking for, and we know how to identify them. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the benefits when organizations come to us, because we can do some things that maybe they're not set up to do. I like to mention that one of the things that keep Hamilton Demo in business and other firms like us is that the world has turned into an automated world, right? So the automation is great on a lot of levels, but for those special types of roles, those unique roles, or the roles that you're really looking to bring into your organization to make an immediate impact, there's some subtle nuances that automation is probably not going to be able to provide what you need for that search or to attract that candidate. We can do that. We are able to kind of look around corners and under places and knock on doors that your automation process would not allow you to do. We can also attract those passive candidates through our network, and we've had huge success in doing that as well. Also, I mentioned to you before, we've been, starting off and kind of being open to a lot of things. We've had to think outside the box even more, and we have established some phenomenal relationships with our partner network. And as a matter of fact, a couple of things I can share with you that I'm really excited about is the last few months, we've really been going to our clients and sharing with them the opportunity to recruit through tried and true methodology, such as television commercials, that you can get the word out, you can attract those candidates and create that pipeline through your pipeline to your career site or to your jobs that you want to, which has been hugely successful. So I dare say here in the near future, if you start seeing more commercials for both small and large companies talking about their opportunities and careers that can be attained within their companies, that might be Hamilton Demo working in the background behind the stage. And think of us. So hopefully you'll be seeing more of that, and we can have a role in expanding that opportunity for organizations.
Man, you guys, you have been busy, my friend. I love it.
Every day's busy. I'm telling you, you don't even know the half of it. It's never a dull moment.
No, but what's interesting, so you've been able to achieve this, and why? So why? And you mentioned, I think you mentioned this a little bit, but why is it that organizations can't achieve the same level of diversity recruitment and hiring? Like what's preventing them, and how can they start to fix it? I think our audience always looking for kind of tactical ways of understanding, well, first of all, what's getting in our way and why, and then how do we start to dismantle that? Because we'd love everybody to be able to work with you all, but not everybody can or will. And so what are some of those steps? Like what's preventing them?
Honestly, UB, I think if you had deep pockets and you were able to fund a study, I think number one, you really would find, and I think many people will agree with me, that the automation is really the leading factor in all of this. And why? Well, automation is not a bad thing, right? As a matter of fact, it's helped companies do more with less, and they can expand their reach even further. and do more things. So automation is not a bad thing at all. But when you look at automation and you see all the good things that it does, companies are reluctant to dismantle, modify, or tweak what is perceived as working for them or has a level of success, right? So I think that's number two in the work that is involved in really committing to diversity. I mentioned before, it's not a flip of the switch, right? You have to kind of realign your recruiting strategies to achieve those types of goals. As a matter of fact, now you need to have goals, right? So a lot of companies just want to dive into it, and they they start the process, or they get stuck by figuring out how they're even going to provide goals so they can measure their progress, right? So those are often things that really hinder, or I should say, stop companies in their tracks and provide that apprehension to move forward.
Yeah, I am the automation piece, I think, is absolutely correct, right? Like you can't just turn something on and let it go.
Yeah.
Uh, you just can't. You can't take the human connection out of this. I mean, I guess I sort of understand why, right? You're trying to do so much with so
Right.
little. So it might just be easier to automate a bunch of those things, but you're automating the wrong things. To your point, like it can be used in the right way, but if you automate the wrong things, then you're never going to get diverse candidates. You're never going to get the right candidates, and and then it's leadership's going to go, well, why haven't we been able to accomplish this?
Yeah. And UB, an example that I'll share with you, since I have neighbors cutting down trees and doing a lot of yard work around us. I hope it's not interrupting the.
No, we don't hear anything. No, you're
But,
good.
you know, in my neighborhood and driving around, I see more of those those automatic lawnmowers, those big lawn discs that continually cut your yard
Oh yeah,
during the day.
yeah,
So
right.
I see automation very similar to that, right? And it's great. As a matter of fact, that's an opportunity to improve your yard and do some great things and keep your yard always looking great. But that doesn't mean that you don't hedge and trim your bushes. You don't take out the clippers and clip when needed. That doesn't mean that you don't do some of the other things in your yard to make your landscape and your property aesthetically pleasing, right? Beautiful, so as it were. So yeah, automation I think is great. There's a lot of benefits, but it shouldn't just stop there. There's still a lot more that these companies can do. Always happy to advise and consult on that. Again, it's good for me because then I can come in and provide a service uh, that can that can help and make us look good at the same time.
I mean, we can't end this podcast without you talking about how you ended up getting involved in a brewery and how you have a stout named after you. Can you tell us about that?
Nina, thank you so much. It's one of my greatest achievements in my career to have a beer named after me. So it all started at my kids' school and church. I became connected with some friends, Dr. John Ganem and his brother Paul Ganem, and the Ganem family. And long story short, they've always desired and had this wish to open up a brewery. Well, I happened to be at the right place at the right time and was able to be involved in this opportunity and this venture. And they opened Dead Low Brewing in 2019. and to great success, and things were going great. It actually opened on my birthday, October 10th of 2019. Actually, my 50th birthday, of all things. So I tell people that they opened it on that day because of my birthday. They wanted to celebrate it. But between you and I think that was just by chance. But as time moved on, there was a lot of tasting and testing of future beers. And in last year, December 31st of 2020, they launched Crazy Ivan, which is a Russian Imperial Stout, in my honor. And I've loved every moment, sharing with friends. And for Nina, I don't know if you have any siblings. I'm sure Yubi and Mike, if you have brothers, there's no greater feeling in the whole world to call your brother and brag that you have a beer named after you. And right? There's no other greater feeling. I can't. Yes.
Well, Mike likes to brag that he has a whole brewery named after him.
It's on the West Coast. Yeah, the Mike Hess Brewery. It's not mine, but and they didn't even give me a free beer when I went there and showed my ID. And I'm like, I have the same name, and they're like, yeah. So
I think you need to try that again, though. You need to go back and demand that.
Yeah, you know it's funny. We had a good time there, Ubaldo, didn't we? We really did. So that was great to drink cerveza on the beach there. But we're looking forward to when we take the show on the road for the Choose Inclusion, coming and toasting a beer with you, my friend Ivan, there in the Queen City.
Yeah, and that would be so awesome. Getting to know you guys has been a pleasure, and maybe we can even make an event out of it, right? Sit out on the deck.
Yes.
Have some cameras, some lighting.
Ivan, I've got more of a radio face, dude. So let's skip the whole camera thing, okay, bro?
Well, it's up to you, Mike. But let me tell you, you're in a good group, so I think you will glow with everyone else around you.
Okay, so it'll have that halo effect. No, he's really not that bad looking.
The halo effect. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Ivan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. We truly love talking to diversity, equity, inclusion leaders globally, and we appreciate you sharing your time and your story with us here on the Choose Inclusion podcast. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And guys, please, if you can find it in your schedule, whether later this year, next year, whenever, I would love to come back. So please have me back. I think even with all the great things we talked about, there's so much more that we've uncovered in our previous conversations that we can talk about. I'd love to chat more with you.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ivan. All right. Well, Choose Inclusion audience, as always, thank you for tuning in and again. We're around every Friday, so keep checking us out. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Nina, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.